Thank you again for joining this post. It is Reasoning with Reno. Thank you so much for even looking at this. This one will be a short one. What we're going to deal with right now is just this line of reasoning. The line of reasoning being God's existence. Now, it's been pointed out many times that neither the atheist nor the theist can prove that there was something before this whole show got started. In other words, if you ask anybody, well, where did all time, space, matter, when did it be, before the Big Bang, how did it get here? I mean, something from nothing. You can't prove that, from what we see, that it happened and then fill in the blank. It's all speculation, both for the ardent atheist and for the devoted theist. So we're pretty much standing on equal ground there. But here's the trigger or the check. Here's the ticker. Now here's the I'm gonna cut this. Here's the thing. The line of reasoning will stop there for the evolutionists, because they really have nothing else to go on, because they pretty much come to the conclusion is all we see is natural forces. We're just going to have to go with that because that's all we can see. Well, for the theist, let's go with the unseen. And we do have unseen realities that we interact with and actually day to day live out. And these are the line of reasonings that make a lot of sense. For example, morality. You can't put in a test tube hate or love, or aesthetics, appreciation for beauty. Those things aren't chemical. They're not chemical related. There's no combination of carbon and different elements that's going to give you the formula love pushing number 9. Okay, so this idea is we have these other lines of reasoning. The theist, in that morality itself has an objective, and that being ultimate reality, God. He's the moral lawgiver, moral absolutes of what we ought to do. And not that, of course, theists are all moral because of that, or nor that atheists are immoral because they don't believe in this ultimate authority. The point is that that ultimate authority must exist in order for us to have a morality that we can defend, that we can't even define. In other words, if your neighbor is Mother Teresa, well, that's all nice and fine. But for the atheist, you can say, well, your neighbor might as well be Adolf Hitler. It really makes no difference. It's just their opinion and what they're into. So therefore, Mother Teresa could be out feeding the poor of Calcutta, and that's all nice and fine. But ultimately, her moral fiber for doing any of that is meaningless and just her opinion. So to Hitler, he's completely justified in killing 11 million Jews and Christians and handicapped and gypsies and all those. He can do that, and that's just his opinion and just what he chooses to do. And to come down on Hitler and say, no, that's not right, you have to say, well, why? It's just preference. I mean, you might say other people don't believe that's right. Well, what do these other people have as stand out as a foundation? Their happiness obviously made Hitler happy to do what he did, and you don't really have anything to stand on to say that was wrong. So to say that it ultimately is wrong, we have the Ten Commandments that say thou shalt not kill, and we can stand on that and say God gave his character and his law to us to show us what he wants from us at the very basic level, and that be not killing each other. So morality is one line of reasoning. Another line of reasoning is what we touched on a bit before, that being the intricacy in the detail we find in life, a life-permitting universe, rather. So there are many levels. I believe the quote I heard is over 120 different anthropic constants that allow this universe to be the way it is, whether it be the thin razor edge level of pressures we exist in, the nuclear force, weak and strong forces that what keeps electrons, the gravitational pull of atoms, and just on down the line, our practically our distance from the sun, the size of our moon, the fact that we have one moon that controls the tides, water, the depth of the crust of the earth, and on and on it goes, that this precision is far more precise and detailed than what mankind has ever been able to come up with. This camera, this internet, space shuttle, all those are like wonderful things that we've made, but we've really just borrowed from what we've seen. I mean, birds fly like that, and it takes quite a lot of effort to keep aviation going. So my point being here is that we would never look at the space shuttle and think in a million years, oh, that just must have come together over time naturally. It just kind of, we know instinctively when we drive down the road and you see a telephone pole that a phone worker, engineer put that pole in there and attached the wires. You drive down and you see a tree similar size, and it's a fact that it is sustained and nobody has to come along and water it and everything, but it's there. It's a beautiful tree, and it has its whole a lot more complex than just the phone pole. You automatically think, oh, that must have evolved from mud and over time. I guess you can do that. I mean, in your mind you can think that evolution is the answer to things, but I think the more clear line of thinking is, in addition to the fact that things are incredibly designed by a designer, we have the morality line of thinking. And then and then the meaning we talked about earlier. So like I said, this one's going to be short. The last idea we're going to deal with is the beginning. Scientists have come, of course, to the conclusion, and this is not news to you, that the Big Bang happened probably 13.7 billion years ago. So here's the progression. We have a beginning of this universe, and so therefore we have a beginner, someone who initiated that. No one just goes boom in a printing shop and then you have the Encyclopedia Britannica, but you go boom the universe and you have more than the Encyclopedia Britannica in your cells, in your DNA. Much more complex. Now there's a lot of levels we can cut this up. I know some have argued, well, you can't compare letters in a book to DNA, but it is a pretty close correlation in that if you tear DNA apart, you know that you just have those 4 A, C, T, and G amino acids, proteins rather, that can continue to repeat themselves in a code, much like letters in a book. So that is a pretty fair comparison. So at the end of the day, the theist has morality, complexity of life, the existence of a life-sustaining universe, and then finally we have the idea of the DNA and the whatever I was just talking about, and I lost it. I'm such an idiot. That's it. Okay. And so the idea is, at the end of the day, we have a lot more lines of reasoning to believe that there's a God. Now, great. Maybe we do. Let's go forward, because what the real issue is your conscience. We're going to address that next.